I think this is a revolution. Right? I think that this is a really profound change in the way human affairs are arranged.
The internet is the first medium in history that has native support for groups and conversation at the same time.
Everyone is potentially a producer of media as well as a consumer of media. A world where sharing with each other what we create is mutually rewarding and has enormous emotional satisfaction. What we are seeing is a movement to a world where every story, every brand, every sound, every image, every relationship plays itself off across the maximum number of media channels. The information system is converged, it's integrated. So we carry pieces of media with us all through the system.
Now, the term information society, information economy, for a very long time has been used as the thing that comes after the Industrial Revolution. But in fact, for purposes of understanding what's happening today, that's wrong. Because for 150 years, we've had an information economy. It's just been industrial, which means those who were producing had to have a way of raising money to pay those $2.5 million and later more for the telegraph and the radio transmitter and the television and eventually the mainframe. And that meant they were market-based or they were government-owned, depending on what kind of system they were in. And this characterized and anchored the way information and knowledge were produced for the next 150 years. What this means is that for the first time since the Industrial Revolution, the most important means, the most important components of the core economic activities, remember we are in an information economy, of the most advanced economies, and there more than anywhere else, are in the hands of the population at large. This is completely different than what we've seen since the Industrial Revolution. So essentially what we're seeing is the emergence of a fourth transactional framework. It used to be that there were two primary dimensions along which you could divide things. They could be market-based or non-market-based. They could be decentralized or centralized. The price system was a market-based and decentralized system. If things worked better because you actually had somebody organizing them, you had firms if you wanted to be in the market, or you had governments or sometimes larger non-profits in the non-market. It was too expensive to have decentralized social production, to have decentralized action in society that was not about society itself, that was in fact economic. But what we're seeing now is the emergence of this fourth system of social sharing and exchange. Not that it's the first time that we do nice things to each other or for each other as social beings. We do it all the time. It's that it's the first time that it's having major economic impact. And this is the dark lining. It is threatened by, in the same way that it threatens, the incumbent industrial systems. So next time you open the paper and you see an intellectual property decision, a telecoms decision, it's not about something small and technical. It is about the future of the freedom to be as social beings with each other, and the way information, knowledge, and culture will be produced. Because it is in this context that we see a battle over how easy or hard it will be for the industrial information economy to simply go on as it goes, or for the new model of production to begin to develop alongside that industrial model and change the way we begin to see the world and report what it is that we see.
U.S. public. Many people hope that the emergence of digital communications will usher in a much better communication system that will be more democratic, more diverse, more robust, give us the news that we're not getting now and be owned by many, many more people. And what I'm saying is that the same economic and political forces that shaped radio, broadcast television, and cable television are also going to shape this new media system, and unless we watch out and are proactive, we may not end up with the kind of digital system that serves the public interest.
But there was one final step in this transformation of journalism. You cut out the middleman, the journalist.
If you've got a story to tell, we'd love to hear from you. The email address, as always, yournews.
How they made us, who are they? Well, they knew.
Now, our presenters plead with us to send in our photos and videos. They proudly present it as a new kind of open democracy. But in reality, it's something very different. Because the journalists don't understand what is going on in today's complex, chaotic world, they have had to revert to their old habit of finding someone in authority who will tell them. But this time, it's not the politicians, it's us, the audience, that they've turned to. The only problem is that we don't have a clue what's going on, particularly because the journalists have given up on their job of explaining the world to us.
Late 19th century, if you like, was the first era of globalization, but is substantively different from the current era. I would like to propose to you that we are living in the first global age. We are the first generation to be citizens in something like an emerging global cosmopolitan society. And as I'll suggest in a minute, communications are crucial to the driving forces underlying this process.
And what is fundamental for me is that because ultimately the most important form of power is the construction of meaning in our minds through discourses, we have entered only recently in a world of constantly immersive, interactive, multi-textual communication system. And that's new, that's historically new. And because discourses shape minds, and discourses are based on the communication environment. If the communication environment changes because of the technology of communication fundamentally changes, then it's a new form of power that we have to investigate. That's at least my approach.
But I think what's new is that we now have the capacity to communicate instantaneously across frontiers, right across the world. We now have the capacity to find common ground with people who we will never meet, but who we can meet through the internet and through all the modern means of communication. That we now have the capacity to organize and take collective action together to deal with a problem or an injustice that we want to deal with. And I believe that this makes this a unique age in human history, and it is the start of what I will call the creation of a truly global society. The power of our moral sense, allied to the power of modern communications and our ability to organize internationally, that, in my view, gives us the first opportunity as a community to fundamentally change the world. Foreign policy can never be the same again. It cannot be run by elites. It's got to be run by listening to the public opinions of peoples who are blogging, who are communicating with each other around the world.
The problem we have today is at least twofold. Many decision makers and representatives make decisions not just for their own constituencies, but for others across borders as well. When the UK and the US politicians make decisions about national energy strategy, the price of oil, how they're going to invest and so on, they make decisions with consequences not just for their own countries, but that spill over the borders of other countries.